Hello,
And
everybody. Welcome to JK Shares. I did an episode recently, ladies and gentlemen, and promised to you we are going to start bringing authors because on this channel we encourage you to read, we encourage you to learn, we encourage you to relearn, and we encourage you to unlearn. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go into the learning moods. Learning moods with our first author to discuss her book. I welcome excitedly my sister, Jackie Asiimwe. If you don't know Jackie Asiimwe, go back many other episodes and listen to that episode first. Pause this one right now. Go and listen. Jackie Asiimwe, her background, her dreams, a mother, a child of preachers, a lawyer, an advocate, but for me, a sister and a
yeah.
person who has mentored me, we've mentored each other, we've walked the journey. The only one thing we have not done together is climbing mountains. And today we are hosting an author of this amazing book. Woohoo! Facing Mountains by Jacqueline Asiimwe. Welcome, my sister. Thank you for
Thank
reading
you.
this book. I was so excited to read. I read it in Uganda. I carried my copy. It's now here. My son has read it. My other son has read it. My twin daughters have read it. Now they want to meet Jackie Asiimwe. They can meet
Oh,
here, but they will also come to Uganda and give you a hug. Jackie, my friend, why write about mountains? What inspired you to do this? You can do a quick intro for those who
sure
are
thing.
but they
No,
don't.
I think you've done an amazing one, and thank you so much, Jackson. So I will not add, but w- before even why write about mountains, I think it's why write. And truth be told, Jackson, you are one of my inspirations for writing because I've read the books you've written. Something for my village and then something else for the other village. Anyway, I know I should know your titles. This is so
There's hope
embarrassing.
for my village, victory for my village. There
Victory.
is,
And I'm waiting. There's one more coming, yes?
yes, legacy for my village. On its
Legacy for my village, yes. But it was in reading even your books and like you said, we mentor each other. At some point I lead and you follow. At some point you lead and I follow. And one of the things you've absolutely led on is telling your story.
yes.
And in fact, hopefully, my next book will be telling the story of SafeSource of how I've built it up to this point in time. But that's a conversation for another day. But I think the why right part of it is embedded in having read your books and even being given the hope that it is possible.
Mm.
And I think that's why, and hear you talk a lot about it. That's why mentors are possible. I mean, are important because they show you the way. You might not do exactly as your mentor does, but they show a way, even without, because you and I never even talked about it. But having decided yours is one of the footsteps that I'll follow in, having seen you write a book and then planting in me a seed that maybe it's possible. So you are one of them, but also believing, Jackson, and I know you do too, in the value of African stories.
Yeah.
Because I know that you and I have also contended with the fact that we talk with a lot of leaders, we see a lot of beautiful things happening in our context. But when you want to read anything leadership, when you want to read anything building organizations, most of the text, unfortunately, are from the West. Is that a bad thing? No, but you want someone to be able to relate with you, to relate with a story and people that they are familiar with, because I think that resonates better. And
Mm.
so, having a mentor, having someone show me that it's possible, but believing in the value of African stories, believing in women's stories as well, was one of the reasons I thought one day I too want to write a book. I didn't know what it would be about, but just that I too wanted to write a book at one point in my life.
And you did it.
And I did it. And just FYI, actually, Jackson, and I don't know if you've ever known, and when you come to Uganda, I should give you one copy. The first one that I attempted, though I didn't mass produce it, is called Letters to My Boys. And I know that you know them and how precious they are to me. And it's a little book in which I wrote letters to Jotham and Jeffrey. And it was my way to condense the lessons that I've tried to teach them as a mother. And I said, if ever I am gone, I would like my words to stay with you. And so I wrote about kindness, about being people of their word, about being civically responsible, about generosity, about sex and sexuality, and all the things that we talk to our children about. And I only produced a few copies, gave them out to family, gave them out to a few friends, and I asked them, would this be a book that mothers can relate to, sons, parents? And I was shy, and I don't know if you went through that process where even as a writer, as an author, you're shy about your voice, and you have to overcome that insecurity about, do I have anything to say? Is this the right moment? I mean, there's so many questions that you go through as you write, and I think so that was maybe a precursor to facing
This
mountains.
one, I didn't know you had written that, but what I do remember, and I don't think I've also ever told you this, now it makes sense because you posted on Facebook one time I think it was Jonathan, you are writing him a letter.
Jotham.
Jotham, yes, you are writing him a letter and you described it on Facebook, and Nicholas was coming to 18. And that post inspired me to ask 18 men to write a letter to Nicholas telling him what they wish they knew when they were 18. And we made a booklet for him for the 4 years. So told me sometimes the exams would be so crazy and he would go back and read one of those letters. Jackie, I was so scared about it. I asked 25 people thinking I might pull up. Guess what? All 25.
All 25 wrote. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
So thank you. So writing, really, you have described why you write. But you were also raised by parents who wrote. You are an author, your father is an author, your sister is an author. This whole writing vibe, how did it begin in your house? I can understand your father writing to go preach, but then writing for fun. How did that come about?
Maybe it's a conversation I need to have with my parents. But I do remember that, of course, like you said, my father was, because of his preaching job, was a very meticulous writer. He handwrote all his sermons, and uh, you know, that was one thing. But they also ensured that we read a lot. And I think there's an interesting and beautiful correlation between reading and writing.
Thank
So
you.
we read a lot. I know we also journaled a lot. And I think that's a practice also that helps you to know how to write. We could never go to church empty-handed. You had to go and be writing what you're learning, right? So again, always being in the practice of writing. And so, like you said, I've written my book. My father has written a book about his life called Unlikely. My siblings are helping my mom, put down her book.
Oh, yeah.
My brother, my three other siblings have written blog posts at some point that were very popular in their time. So it's all, yeah, I guess again, I think it was the coming from a discipline and practice of reading and writing, reading and writing.
Reading and writing, indeed. As I read this book, Jackie, because you and I have known each other for a long time,
Yes.
I thought that you held back a little bit.
Ah, you're not the only one, Jackson.
You intend to do that, or it's going to be a cycle? We are going to get different aspects. As you wrote it like a movie. I'm going to get you here, but if you want to see another one, number two, number three.
So number
Oh, did you?
one, Jackson, the genre that I wrote is a memoir. And so I take a part of my life and expand the story from that moment, which is the facing mountains. But at the same time, I am very clear in the beginning that you will not know everything about me.
Exactly, you did.
But also, maybe that's how now I know how movies part one, part two, part three,
Thank you.
because you don't say everything all at once, right? You need to keep for the sequels. So who knows? Maybe there's a sequel coming. So I can't pour everything in one
Exactly.
book.
And that's a
But I also understand when you say there was, part hesitation, again, when you're a first-time writer, when you're writing about things that are quite personal, I think there was always that struggle between how much do you say, how much do you not say, um, but and being as truthful, as honest, as kind
Mhm.
to everyone who is part of your story, because we are not self-made and there are people who impact and interact with our stories every day of our lives. So to honor them as well as to honor your truth, I think it's a fine balance. And I think it was, all that wrapped up in one to say, I will tell this part, and who knows what, part two might look like if it ever comes.
Exactly.
But I totally hear you.
And I like that because you wrote for the world. There are some books I
Mhm.
pick up, and you mentioned it, and this is the truth. You want to write books, read books. The
Yes.
reading and writing go together. And
Yes.
I tell this to my children all the time. For you, you wrote letters to your sons. I have two daughters and two sons. And I keep telling them that when you wake up and you find me reading, I want to wake up when I walk in your room to find you reading. And this
Yes.
is going to lead you to this. But I like how you put facing mountains. And when we were kids studying in Nyakajez and Kanungu, you think facing the mountains, that's what it is. You're going to go look at the mountain. The metaphor also dealing with things that come into our daily living, the
Yeah.
struggle, the emotional, the mental, the exhaustion. And you mashed this together so well while telling us also about the physical mountains and the preparation that goes into it. Of all the mountains you climbed, Jackie, which one stands out and the preparation for it? The physical ones. Then I'll ask
The
you.
physical preparation. In terms of standing out, Jackson, you have climbed mountains too, and mountains are different.
Hmm?
And I think for me that is what came to be interesting. So just like people are different, mountains are different, each beautiful and horrific in its own right. And so I don't know like which one I would pick. But in terms of preparation, because Renzori was going to be our first climb ever, and just like you said, I was strolling the streets of Facebook and I saw friends of mine, Ian Mugarura, Titus Butebenkezi, and Jacob Ziksoka had climbed Renzori. And so I started reading their stories and I thought, I too can do that. Again, going back to the point I made, mentors are important. And sometimes they don't have to sit down and say, you know what, Jackie, climb a mountain. But so it's very, what are you writing? Because even as you write or your social media posts, you're mentoring someone. Even as you speak, even as you do your life, you're mentoring someone someone is watching and wanting to benchmark off you. So anyhow, having seen them climb and the journey that they went through, I thought to myself, I too would like to climb. And I spoke to friends and we agreed that together we would. So of course, again, you call those that have gone before you and say, what is it like? What should we do? And so they told us to be absolutely prepared. And we just went hard. For
Yeah.
6 months nonstop, we did long walks, we did crazy kinds of almost boot camp like exercises. We did spinning, we did anything that you could think of to train. But then we also told ourselves, Renzori is the highest mountain in Uganda, the biggest block mountain in Africa. Maybe it's not one you just go to unprepared. Let's first try smaller mountains. And so a few of us, three of the six, went to climb Elgon. And that was an interesting experience in and of itself. And, to just learn what you do, what are the sleeping conditions, how do you eat, what does walking a whole day look like, what is a mountain like? Because again, coming from nursery school where we draw a mountain as an inverted V, like
Yeah.
no, mountains are not up one side and down another, especially if it's a multi-day hike, okay? It's up and down and up and down, and the higher you go, you know that you're going to climb down as steeply, it was interesting to learn that. And then going to Muhavura and all that for me was my worst ever because Muhavura is steep from top to bottom or bottom to top. And that I did not enjoy as whatsoever. And so those two were preparation, part of our preparation for Renzori. But like I said, each mountain has a different texture, a different flavor. And I think it really mirrors life, like you said. And that's why I call it Facing Mountains, because each experience, each of us as people are uniquely different, even though we might appear the same.
That is true. And I like and love the point you make in the book. And you just mentioned each of the mountains you had a tribe. And going back
Yes,
to the mentorship, many
yes,
of the mountains we face, physical, mental, spiritual, we also need that tribe. And you make
yes,
that point over and over and over. And I want our listeners to know that mostly, especially with mental issues now, people continue to want to hold on, to not speak about it, be ashamed about them, and forget that there is a tribe to climb with you, that
yes.
mountain. Thank you for highlighting that in the book and again bringing it back to this discussion. The turning point for you, you spoke about the different professional uh, upheavals you're going through, the starting of civil source, and when you got to that turning point, you did three major things that are still visible right now. One, writing this book. Second, walking every day for your physical exercise, but also connecting with the people. I've had an opportunity to work with you two times now and have amazing conversations. How are you rewarded in these experiences? What does Jack get out
Mm.
of this? We who work with you get a lot. We know what we get out.
Yes, yes, yes.
What does it do to you?
Wow. Um, I think one of the biggest gifts is just the power of connection.
Connection.
Connection. And I don't even think you can ever put a price to it, right?
Cannot.
So just yeah, if all I did was just meet the person and hug them, and for me, not just connection, but connection of strangers, because I've done 337 walks as of today,
Ooh.
and about I would say more than half of those have been total strangers. I'm literally meeting them for the first time when
Like,
we walk together. And
really?
that's why I say that very, very much so. Very much so, Jackson. And so I'm just amazed that people are brave to reach out to a stranger and say, hey, let me walk with you. Uh, I am amazed that people would share their stories so generously.
Mm.
I'm amazed that I get to share with, a broader audience than the person that I work with every day, a story of the people that I work with. So I think for me, just the value and beauty of connection, and that out of this connection has led to other connections along the way. And I can't, some of them have joined our Grow Lead Mentorship group. Others came for our leaders summit that we held. Others came for, so it's just one connection that leads to another, that leads to open doors. I think for me, that has been the biggest asset and gift out of this. Connection, connection, connection. Like you said, tribe. And it literally feels like, building this momentum, building this huge I, I don't want to say movement, but yeah, I think you get what I mean, yeah?
You can't say movement.
I don't know because where are we going? But anyhow, but yeah, no, it's truly been I can't even express what a beautiful gift it has been.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the
And to
gift,
work with all kinds of people, my youngest has been, I think, an 18-year-old. My oldest was Mr. Matembe, who is 79. So,
yeah,
and everybody in between. From, yeah, the opportunity to even work with diplomats,
yeah.
to the opportunity to work with just your regular Joe, right? So, and again, everybody in between. That has been absolutely amazing.
And amazing that each of those 337 walks you have blessed us all around the world to read about them on LinkedIn, to read about them on Instagram. I think these people need to give us our content one of these days because everybody who makes a post on these social media posts have basically written a book. All you need to do
Mhm.
is go gather them, put them
And
together.
got, yes, yes,
That
yes,
these
yes.
are books. This is you for you people who are aspiring to become authors. You already author things every single day.
Yes,
Put them
yes,
together and make a book. And
yes.
another gift you gave all of us who have had a chance to read the book and get the physical one is the list of books you've read over the years.
Ah,
I remember the days when we would both talk about which ones you read, but anybody
yes,
who told me, no, I'm a disorganized man. I never compared my lists and I got you a book and the whole list of books 2022, 23, 24. Kudos,
yes, yes.
kudos. Thank you for
Thank
giving us
you.
that.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to ask you something related to your book tours. You are
Yes.
talking about this book in Uganda, and then we'll talk about how to find it and wrap it up. You have talked about it in Uganda, you've been to South Africa, spoke about the book, you've been to Rwanda, speaking about
Yeah, to Rwanda, to Kenya.
Kenya, speaking about the book, and many other places that are upcoming.
Yes.
Within these,
And now here on platforms like these.
and then there's so many platforms here, and this is
Yes.
the first time we are getting you. You are our first author. We've hosted authors, but you are the first author where we have focused an whole episode on the book and more to come. You take the lead. You laid all these mountains, and by the way, you inspired me. I'm going to climb Mount Kilimanjaro on my birthday next year. When we both turn a certain number, we are not going to.
Yes, 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 yes.
So I will do Mount Kilimanjaro, and I will be
Wow.
thinking about you while I peak on the real birthday.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Throughout these tours,
Yes.
hey, going back to you, the author, what has really stood out for you personally as you go do the readings and discuss the book with different audiences in different countries?
Wow, several things. One that if you had asked me at the beginning of this year, and at the beginning I did a vision board, and one of the things that I visioned and envisioned was a book launch.
Mm,
But I only thought of it as one, right? And so in fact on 5th July this year, I did a big launch in Kampala.
yes.
And I thought that was going to be it. But at the same time, and again, why I tell people that what you do, you don't know who you're leading. I had watched Dr. Gladys Kalemazik-Soka
Yes.
take her
My
book,
next one.
Walking with Gorillas,
Yes.
around not just Africa, around this world, Jackson,
I
right?
saw her in
And
Boston,
so,
Massachusetts last year.
see? And I think she's the one who gave me the idea that it's actually possible.
Mhm.
It is actually absolutely possible. So just like you showed me that it's actually possible to write not just one, but several books, she showed me it's okay to have not just one, but several launches. And so I started to remember, so who do I know in Kenya? There's a bookstore that I always buy my African books from when I go to Nairobi, and I'm a consistent customer. Did I ever think that I would? No, I wasn't buying them because I wanted to co-launch my book with them, not at all. But when I knocked on Wendy's door and I said, "Here I am, I have a book. I know you promote," and their store is specific on promoting Black writers from all across the globe. And
Yes.
so I said, "When will you host my book? But also, I would like to come to Nairobi and we actually host a sit down, a launch." And she said, "Of course, come." And so that's how I got into that. And I Jackson, I've had the feeling that the books I have read, those many that you talked about, because when you buy a book, you're supporting an author. I
That's true.
think the sum total of that karma,
Mm.
right, of support to other authors, I believe is part of what has opened doors to me. That my books being in some stores on the continent is because I have, whether knowingly or unknowingly, supported other authors by buying their books, by reading their books, by talking about their books. When we say what goes around comes around, I hope we truly believe that indeed that's what happens. Then
That-
when I was going to Rwanda, I thought to myself, oh, I know a Ugandan family there, and I hooked up with them and I said, can you host a book event? And in South Africa, it was like, again, because I'd seen Gladys do it there, I said, how did you do it? She had gotten in touch with exclusives. I asked my friend in South Africa, can you help me get in touch with exclusives so that we can do a book? So it's really been riding on what I've seen, but riding also on goodwill of people that are in these countries to help host me. Next year, I hope to do one in Malawi, again, through a connection
That's
of someone that I met. So yeah, it's been one door after another of unexpected opportunity. Truly, I could never have planned this, Jackson.
that's well done, well said, and please come to Michigan State University here in
Yes, I would
Michigan
love to do an American tour. I
and
will tell you
American
off the
tour.
show.
The
That would be
blessing,
amazing.
the blessing God has given me is to have lived in all, wherever I've lived in the USA and settled
Yeah.
here, it's all university related. Columbia University,
Yes.
Indiana University, where
Yes.
very well.
Yes.
Michigan State University, Harvard, we can arrange a talk with our Ugandan community in Boston. So please extend it, and book tours are always there. Doesn't
Yes.
matter how long my,
And I always tell people, even if I sell two books,
if
but
you
it's part
don't
of the
sell
way to help
any,
sell the book.
even if you
Even if you
don't
don't,
sell that
you've had
day,
a
you planted
conversation.
a seed. My
Yes, you
book was
planted a
written in,
seed.
the first one was 2010. Can you believe it's been 14 years?
Wow.
People
Wow.
still invite me to do book talks, and I still do.
Wow. That's
Once
amazing.
you write, it will never go away. So,
Yeah.
ladies and gentlemen who are aspiring to write, those who are watching and going, I want to write my book, you have two authors here, more to come. Gladys will come here.
Yes.
Ketchumli will be
Yes.
coming soon. Ketchumli the
Yes.
other day asked me a book she wanted me to bring, and I said, I have that book, but I don't know which house or library it is in.
Oh,
I have a library here, I have all commerce, I have
yes.
everything,
Yes.
but it
Yes.
is
Yes.
somewhere you can always get it. So
Plus, you're a moving book yourself anyway.
I'm what?
You're a moving book.
And that is such a gift, Jackie, to be
Yes.
raised by parents who couldn't read and write, then
Yes.
take up this
Wow.
curiosity and be able to write books and get to talk about books with other people.
Yes.
The gift that
Yes.
God has given me that I can't take away. Tell us, where do people find the book? Uh, we will list those for everybody to find.
Yes.
I highly recommend this book, and it is an easy
Thank
read.
you.
An
Yes, it is.
evening of watching one game of Manchester United, you will read this book and finish it before the game is over. And you learn so much and get inspired. That's like Jack said, I inspired her to write her own story. I hope this conversation inspires you to write yours.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you,
yes.
and please tell us, where do people find it?
Where? Okay, so in Uganda, it is available in most of the bookstores in Kampala. So that is Aristoc, Book Point, and the pop-up store of Mahiri. Then it's available online with Mahiri Books, with African Writers Trust, and with FemWrite as well. Then it's available in Nairobi with Somanami Books and with one other online bookstore whose name has fled. In Kigali, it is available at Charisma Bookstore. In Johannesburg, it's available at the exclusives at Cresta Mall.
Preston Mall.
And yes, And in Malawi, also available at another bookstore that I will let you know about. It is available at our airport in Entebbe.
Woohoo!
Yes, I know, right? And no, and I can't tell you how many books I've bought at airports. So I know that airport bookstores are very, very
I buy a
important.
lot of books at airports. I never
So
go
do
to have to
I.
get
So do
mine.
I. So do I. Even when I don't need one, I'm just like, no, I need to buy a book. And I usually end up reading it. So that is it for now. I'm still not settled about whether I want it online. Others have talked to me about an audiobook, so I'm still trying to figure that part out. Otherwise, they are physically available. They are also available in my car boot. I
Perfect.
tell people now become a mutembe.
We don't want people
Anytime
scouting
someone
you.
says book, I say, ah, it's here, it's here, it's here. And that was partly by advice of Kecho, who said, no, once you're an author, you always have to have your books with you. So
You
also available with me anywhere you see me, I have my book.
are.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, go find a book, Facing Mountains. I know my mountains. I know how,
Yes.
and I'm learning every day how to face my mountains. I encourage you to do the same and read this book to guide you through
Thank you.
this journey. We appreciate you and thank you. Jackie, thank you for giving the world a gift. And we
Thank
will
you.
have all those places listed in the comments. And when the episode hits, please do share. If you have read the book, tell us what you got out of the book. If you haven't, read it and we'll get to discuss more about the book. Thank you so much, Jackie.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
coming back, TJK. We'll see you soon, and we'll continue to inspire more people through writing, through sharing, and inspirations we've done for each other.
Amen. Thank you so much, Jackson, and blessings, and see you soon.
That's right. Adios.
Bye-bye.